Here we are at the end of the 9th annual Internet Dating Conference in Europe, one that took place in Cologne, Germany. For me, quite impressive event. Your thoughts?
I think there's some real standout speakers this time. Henning, certainly, from Metaflake. He's been in the business since, what was it, 2002?
He was below my radar for a while, and then I found out who he was. He was a mega affiliate, and we decided to bring him up as a keynote. Yeah, the amount of experience the guy has in the business and his knowledge of it, and also the things he's doing in the business as well. Pretty impressive.
There's a lot of overview, review dating sites. So one of the things he pointed out as an education is that there's actually a 14-day refund policy in Germany, which I had no idea about. So that's quite a hurdle for them to get over. So basically anybody who buys a membership in Germany, they have 14 days, and for any reason they can get their money back on that membership.
I don't think that's a major loss of business.
But if that standard goes worldwide, I mean, it's quite amazing that it's actually that's a legality. So
it's like a money-back guarantee, basically. I mean, that's all it is.
He also pointed out that for the first time this year, the German markets, he thinks, is worth over 203 million euros a year, which is actually more than Germans spend on condoms.
Kind of industry needs to step up. Then you followed. You gave the overview of the European dating industry. What were your numbers for this year?
Yeah, well, let me give you some highlights. For example, UK, according to ComScore, grew the fastest, 37% growth in the UK, apparently, which is a real surprise to me. So 37% growth in the UK. Germany is the biggest potential market overall. France has the biggest penetration of internet daters at 17.2% of people who are online are using internet dating. And Italy has the most potential. They are currently only 5.8% of internet users in Italy are using internet dating.
How big is the UK dating industry?
Well, that's the problem. We don't have hard numbers. I mean, Henning gave the number 203 million euros for Germany
alone.
And it's a lot of private companies. So we really need to be able to get, I'd say if we can get 10% of the top 100 to tell us what they're earning, then we might be able to. Well, remember, I mean, worldwide it's a $4 billion a year industry.
Right.
Roughly. In the USA, a couple of $1 billion. It's over $1 billion or so in Europe.
Well, bigger than Germany, you're saying?
203 million euros.
Which is about $250 million roughly.
Which is going to be one of the biggest markets. I mean, France is probably not far off that. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of players in Germany. There's over 200 online dating operators just in Germany alone. We're not talking sites, we're talking the operators themselves. So, Tanya spoke on the latest dating software developments in the region, whether it's private label or just, generic software that people can purchase.
And the Czech Republic is on the radar now. They're doing quite well in the Czech Republic, of all places.
Yeah, that surprised me because I lived there for a couple of years and you've been there for a couple of years. And as far as I saw, there were really only 1 or 2 dating sites online and they weren't doing that great. They never did that great. So I guess the market's changing there from when we were there.
Yeah. Well, it's always wonderful to have Google here, of course. I mean, he urged everybody to think about the user journey. Where are they starting off? Where are they finding the ad? One thing I learned at the conference overall, actually, mobile is very synergistic with TV advertising. Because if you think about, I worked with Cupid in the past, and what we learned was that conversions are very high because people would hear the radio advertisement, be less inclined to go to the computer, but once they hit the computer, they would convert, the numbers were higher than the industry average. And so that distance between the media and the medium for joining is very important. And of course, the distance between TV and mobile is far less than TV and the computer. So it's a pretty healthy thing to do to advertise a mobile service on the TV.
Well, that was mentioned also in Subscription Site Insider when they did that report with you 2 years back. That, it was a 90% for dating operators, a 90% satisfaction rate for how much they spend. Yes, they spend a lot on television advertising. It's the highest spend amount for advertising, but the satisfaction rate was at 90% plus, which was the highest percent compared to radio or even pay-per-click ads or even affiliate marketing for that matter. Yeah, for mobile obviously makes sense because you're sitting on the couch most likely, the mobile phone's sitting right next to you, and if it tells you to download an app, you could do it right then and there, whereas a computer, it's unlikely you're going to be holding your laptop.
Yeah. So that's seeing 150% year-over-year growth in mobile dating app users, apparently.
And then after that, we had that CEO therapy session, and there were 2 people. So one was Sven Jan Arndt, he gave his presentation. The audience was there. They gave some advice, as they were supposed to. What were your thoughts?
Well, they've got 700,000 users. They've grown very quickly, virally mainly, and they're typically 25 to 28 age. I think they class themselves as a social dating site. So are they social discovery or social dating? We're still struggling with these definitions, really.
All these new dating sites, the one common theme that I'm seeing, anyone that's new, their marketing strategy is viral growth, viral growth, viral growth. That's what I'm seeing again and again and again. Traditional marketing methods, things like that, far secondary compared to viral growth. That's
Especially if you're calling yourself a social dating service. I think the discovery element makes it more viral. I mean, it's very tightly defined to say you're just dating, but they're focusing on dating.
After that was My Lovely Parent with Matt Connoly. Great guy, flew himself down here from England to show off his site in front of everybody. And
very compelling story, basically.
Yeah. He basically taking care of his mom, and he decided to get his mom a date, and as a result, he made a site out of it to help other people get their parents dates. It's grown quite substantially. He ended up getting pressed by accident, and what was interesting that he said was that he was planning on using that press later, and everybody in the room was like, no, you take the press that you've got right now and you use it to grow. And
there's actually some very interesting advice that was given out. I mean, it was proposed that he change his name. You didn't like the name, did you?
I said the domain was too long. My Lovely Parent is just a lot of letters, something short, anything under. So we also had a session following this viral stuff. We had Dr. Eike Post.
Well, he started off by saying, look, as a new entrant into the industry, you've not got much of a chance to get beyond the improvements that have already been made, the competition, the conversion factor tuning, and the channel selection that's already been made. I mean, you've got no chance of competing against that. So why even bother going down that route? So what he focused on was creating a product which was viral. He had to. He realized he had to from the outset. So I think
his belief is basically, you can promote a site and become quite successful with little to no marketing costs.
The key for him was to look at the details. If you're trying to create a viral program, you have to know each step, make sure every step is refined and perfected, and test it until you're past a viral factor of 1, VF factor of 1+, even as 1.02. You look at the various modes at which you're promoting, and if they add up to more than 1.01, then you're going to make some money, basically. It's going to explode and grow. Otherwise, it's going to diminish and not be very powerful. He said if you can make an improvement of 10% on one of those elements, that can have 1,000% improvement in the number of people that actually end up hitting a service. Now, Dan Winchester in the audience was saying, great, okay, we can get a massive bolt of new users, but unless it's really on topic, unless they're really, the message is correct, then they're not going to convert. So.
No, we had 2 sessions on payments. We're seeing more and more interest in, Apple charges their whopping 30% for apps, Now there's more and more interest now in payments. So we've had Paysafe Card there and Payspace, both sponsors at the conference. They both spoke at the event. What were your thoughts on what you heard?
Well, I'm always interested in alternative modes of payment, especially when they're mature and have mature collection points. In the case of payment cards, we've been hearing about payment cards for years, but Paysafe Card actually has a considerable distribution channel now. I should note they're a private client. But I find it very easy to rave about them and evangelize them. So
on the second day, we had Professor Monica Whitty from University of Leicester. I said what, Leicester?
Leicester.
Leicester. Okay. Spell L-E-S-T-E-R.
That's cute. That's why English is a tough language to learn.
Yeah, of course. So Professor Monica Whitty, and also we had Tim Ford from SOCA, which actually, it sounds funny, but it's not. It's called Serious Organized Crime Agency, and they're up there. And when you gave the intro for Tim, you couldn't find much about his background.
No, we researched background, so I could do introductions on everybody. And he was a ghost online. I mean, he doesn't have any kind of profile for good reason. He's, a serious organized crime fighter.
Yeah. This is the first time we ever had a significant individual from law enforcement ever attend the event. We once had, I think, a couple of attorney generals from different states, but this Serious Organized Crime Agency, this was a pretty significant level individual at the organization. And he was interested, as well as Professor Whitty, who was doing research on, was online dating scams. And this, by the way, at the final panel took up a good, I'd say, a third to half of the final panel session. Dr. Monica Whitty's research was really an eye-opener. For example, that they said that the online dating scams, it was not limited to ethnicity. It was not limited to sexual orientation. Matter of fact, gays were equally scammed proportionally as bisexuals.
And the emotional damage actually is more traumatic in most cases than the actual damage of the loss.
That's right. So there's no victims help group for people who've been scammed online. The only thing was romancescams.org. And Professor, as great as the organization is and all that, believe me, they work tirelessly, those guys, for what they do. The tone, according to Professor Monica Whitty, is that these people come in there, they're angry, they want to find these perpetrators, and you know, there is a lot of education there, but the tone at that time that they're coming in is so negative that you need to have an area for people who've been scammed to kind of help and heal each other and move on.
Which he estimated that it was on the order of a $10 billion a year problem in the UK alone. Right. So let me define that. Online scams in general, not online dating scams.
Okay. All right. And Tim Ford, he showed a picture of a house that some guy had in Ghana, 3-4-story house with a pool and the whole thing, and that's how much money he was just making off online dating scams alone. It was a lot of, for Ghana, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, Western Africa seems to be an area where it's turned into an industry of sorts. One of the questions Dan brought up is, where do we report these problems? We know there's a problem, we can give you some information, but where do we report them within the policing service in the UK? And it's Action Fraud. There's an online place that iDating sites in the UK can report to, and it's called Action Fraud. So
Lorenz Bogaert, another person involved with viral marketing, new dating site Twoo. He got up there and spoke about social discovery, and he also spoke about mobile as well.
And the position was interesting. I mean, they're not positioned in the same camp as Badoo. Badoo, they say, is for just generally meeting new people, but they're specifically dating. So we're talking about people discovery. I mean, they're really dating discovery, if you like.
The amazing thing for me was that he perceived a registrant as a payment. In other words, there was no financial transaction between someone who signs up and his company, but he perceives that as a payment. And he had an inverted triangle showing you all the things a person can do, and for him this is advancing, actually not downward but actually upward on his level of how he perceives things. And the very, very bottom of that inverted triangle was an actual financial transaction, and that's how much it mattered to him. He said he's still profitable. His conversion rates were less than 1%, about 1% or less. That is, someone actually paid for something, and that's, I think, 40,000 users out of 5 million plus members.
I think they're really taking a page out of the Facebook book. If you look after the users will look after you, which is probably part of the motivation for that rewards pyramid. He recognized that users were contributing to the health of the site by various activities, and was created an incentives model around that. That's a good way of breaking things down. So 1% of their users are paying anything at this stage, but they're paying in other ways through their activity and through promoting the website.
So, then we have Matteo Monari from BizUp, and he's a search engine expert and SEO expert, should I say. All right, what do you think of that session?
Very valuable. I mean, a lot of us have been involved with link building around our sites. A lot of our affiliates have certainly been involved with link building. But the landscape has changed. The rules have changed with the introduction of...
Well, it changes every day. Now the latest one is Penguin. That's the latest Google installation of their algorithm.
One significant difference he noted was that in the past you were not negatively impacted by links, and now that has changed. If you've got a link which is clearly from a link farm, then you will receive a -1. You can be negatively impacted by those SEO-oriented links. Google is getting better at recognizing real links and real content. But if it's a fair distribution around some on topic, some lightly on topic, some even off topic, that's authentic, and that's what Google's looking for across the board, is authenticity.
I know some black hatters, and I know, for example, that they would take that to their advantage, and they go after certain sites they want to attack. They will make sure that bad backlinks go back to them. That's from the early days of Google's algorithm. They learned, I think, from their first version to the second version of the algorithm, they can't penalize webmasters for someone else's activity. So that's one thing that they'll probably have to relook at again. I don't think that was going to last too long.
He did give one example of some work that he did with a single site where he had a map, which was you could move the bars, and it was an interactive map where it would show the ages of people around Europe. So essentially, if you're going on holiday and you wanted to meet people of a certain sex within a certain age range, you could see where statistically you had a better shot within Europe. And he also put in the link, he had a rotating link, so it was a randomized link so that it was not all linked back under exactly the same tags, terms. And that did quite well. They had 21,500 incoming links from that.
Spin Codex initiative. David Khalil from EU Darling, one of the co-founders, speaking about this new initiative that they got together with the German big dating sites to try and stop scamming and also sort of protect the industry, self-protect the industry. Not the first time this has been done, by the way, but
that was, for me, the most important session of the entire conference.
Okay.
I mean, we have to protect this thing called internet dating as a worldwide, the reputation of the industry is at threat to some extent by scammers, by sites that are using poor marketing techniques.
Internally and externally, it's a threat. Yeah, no, that I agree.
So, but they've thought this through. I mean, Germany is a country where they're familiar with having lots of legislation.
It's certainly sincere in its intent. I mean, PricewaterhouseCoopers is administrating it, so that's obviously they put some real money into this thing. They're really going the right way. The only drawback that I had mentioned at the end, it's a possibility, is if there's a scandal or if something bad happens that impacts the Spin Codex, then that negative impact falls upon these 5 entities that formed it, and can basically be a domino effect and hurt them worse. So they're sticking their necks out for what they're doing, and they recognize that risk.
There is a return. I mean, they've received a lot of press on this initiative already back in May. They've had some good, positive attention. I think to be seen to be making the effort is very positive.
I totally agree. The fact that they're taking the risk, but there is a risk.
Looking at what they've agreed, it all looks very healthy. They had 6 major points, 6 components to the agreement. There's a 7th component which was outside the realms of the agreement on scamming, which they just couldn't quite come to agreement on quite yet. I think it's a great framework for the rest of the world. Yeah, no, I agree. Then we tried something totally new. We had Florian Braunschweig from Lovoo speak at the conference on this hybrid business model. It shocked everybody. Very impressive. One was basically that you have to pay for credits and then use those credits to pay for anything. By having one step away from real money, that you're more likely to you'll spend more money on whatever this is. And Dan Ariely confirms that in the book, Predictably Irrational. I mean, the big question with mobile is how to make money. He's making money from interstitials and advertising in the app using AdMob. Well, he had several. He's advertising. He used credits for virtual gifts, actual payments for things. He also advocated using Sponsor Pay and Tapjoy for buying traffic. Yeah, it was pretty good. And there were a lot of tips. And then the final panel, as I said, the scamming part was fully discussed. Mobile was also covered, as we discussed. And then the only other thing left in that final panel was basically where the industry was heading. And it seemed to be that the overall consensus, again, the industry is growing, except Henning, who says flat. He said flat. He's plugged in. Well, yeah, he says this industry hasn't changed in years and it's just flat. Well, Germany, should I say. Germany is flat, he says. In comparison to the golden years, I mean, a few years back it was growing in double-digit percentage every year. I mean, look at England, 37% according to Comscore. I wonder how that reflects really with revenue. Yeah, but you got to figure that mobile is growing also. It's growing all over the world, so mobile's growing here too. And then therefore the mobile growth should also be here. And I mean, if the average rate, the affiliate download is like $1.30 for a dating app. I mean, mobile dating affiliates must be cleaning up. So I don't know. I think it should be higher. Maybe he's wrong. Overall, a strong event. Some very senior people here. Some very good tips. I got a lot out of this one, and I'm really looking forward to Moscow.
Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting event. There was a lot in terms of the caliber and quality of people that were here again. What you learned both in the sessions and in the hallways was pretty impressive. And I'm looking forward also to Moscow and all the other events in the future.
And the Asia Pacific Conference in Sydney, of course.
Of course.